The Quiet Footsteps, Chapter 6. Naturally enigmatic, the witch doctor was nowhere to be seen. Even the girl's keen eye that always struck every member of a crowd couldn't notice the man. He must have departed, or he is hiding. Nevertheless, the shady merchant would never be found again. He was gone. With no sign of answers, details, or even a guise that motivates her now capable self, an inclination of becoming an expert thief emerged. Surely with her newfound ability of speed, survival, and persistence, prosperity was guaranteed. The important aspect is not what to steal, but who to steal from, as anyone may come prepared for anything threatening her life, so her thievery would need to be petty, and almost too easy. As she strolled through Upper District, scat-free, trying to eye and target, the thought of the midnight crystal never escaped her mind, distracting her tremendously. Burning it into her head, the girl knew such a heist was impossible, especially with the engineer's defenses, and even more impossible to bribe it from his stubborn soul. The coat, with every mention of the crystal in her head, siphoned particles and emitted a low bass-like sound of indication, intriguing the girl. She continued eyeing marketers and gatherings. Peeking over a shipment crate of assorted goods at the market, she backtracked for 1 second. Tucking behind the crate and leaning against it, she tilted her head. It was clear that the coat was created for the crystal as well. Persistent calamity had its ties with her, and she clearly had had enough of it. She dashed away from the market, heading towards the engineer's cottage. The workshop, from a memory, distinguished very little from the common magistrate household. For the resistance, however, this was unorthodox, as most of the resistance, from what she has heard, heavily frowned upon conventionalism, be it for stealth purposes or not. The engineer must have needed to be sneaky in order to hide crystal magic, which was outlawed a decade ago. The practice, once focused by the magistrate, was outlawed due to rebellion from deviants, who sought infinite power from the crystals, which clearly showed their potential. Progress from the deviants halted when the magistrate's powerful military force dominated them before making a breakthrough that would have made them unstoppable. Soon after, the resistance formed, rekindling the progress of crystal magic, as through public eye, newfound benefits in medicine and enhanced agriculture questioned the magistrate's decision, the dissent including a particular ex-magistrate engineer. The resistance have shown signs of dignified dissent, but given the recent, publicly announced increased budget for hunting down crystal users, tensions were rising yet again. The girl wondered how she'd be able to hide from folks who wanted the crystal more than her. Not only would she need to defend herself, but she would have to live a life either with the resistance or as an outlaw or bounty hunter, using her potential ability to aid in combat raids and heists. Choose a life of crime or a life of political rebellion. But before she could knock on that door and make her choice, she noticed a piece of paper hanging on the doorknob. "For sale?" she shouted aloud. Where was the engineer? The midnight crystal. Picking up the paper, she noticed the elegant M emblem on the bottom of it. "There's no way I can get it back." Approaching her, the engineer stoically rose from the bench he sat in, not far behind her, with a massive boulder next to it, from which he seemed to face. "What?" she stuttered. "What happened?" "What's it look like?" he barked. "A house and even I almost got taken away. Crystal signatures, they said. I knew they'd find it, after your stupid little quest on me home failed miserably, making me use my crystal soaker. No wonder they tracked it." The engineer's violent voice beckoned his body to erupt on something, anything. This nasty thief had the guts to return here, even after he gave her 10,000 credits out of guilt. "He took everything," he added. "At least everything you're looking for. And we're going to take it all back. Tomorrow." The strangest object moved in the corner of her eye. With her initial focus on the engineer, she noticed an almost crystalline rock structure emerge from the boulder next to the bench, crunching and crumbling to take form. Bobbing her head past his shoulder to further examine the anomaly, her face turned from curiosity to mild concern. "Barrick, we have plans to discuss." The rock structure emitted a voice. "Come now." A mature feminine voice that echoed in their direction added to the girl's mystique as the rock formation began to take the shape of the stone warden herself, Inara, heard only from the eavesdropping of nearby children listening to stories in the cozy winter nights by their mothers. Inara was the word of comfort and vigilance she heard when she tried to stay warm outside. Hiding in plain sight, The girl's eye gazed at the empty street Barrick's house was on, aware that no one but her and Barrick heard her voice, a pleasure that very few will ever bear witness to. "Find someone else to rob, you little rascal!" He turned his back and started towards Inara, with heroic and daring machinations written on his face, overzealous with revenge. Keeping this in mind, the girl planned on leaving it all be. Despite her ravenous desire for the crystal, there was no possible way she'd be able to retrieve it. It was simply suicide. Guards circled the magistrate's fortress keep in a 5-mile radius, with hundreds of nobles circumventing its center in the richest and dignified part of town, where occasionally Leon, scion of House Aiko herself, would wallow and dine atop the fortress, losing grasp on all the less fortunate figures below. The more the girl dawned in it, the more melancholy she became. How fortunate birth can spiral out of proportion. Even her new abilities paled in comparison to the magistrate knights, with some of them able to throw people miles away with one swing of their thunderous arms. That Barrick fellow planned on taking his possessions back, regardless of the aftermath it may bring upon this district. Likely backed by a capable resistance, a battle was to unfold, not a massacre. With the magistrate's overwhelming numbers and iffy tactics, could an unsuspecting magistrate guard let slip a small, agile little girl?